The silent revolution, reclaiming your power after rejection. Have you ever extended yourself completely, pouring your time, energy, and even your heart into someone, only to be met with a soul-crushing indifference? You went above and beyond, sacrificing your own needs and desires to ensure their happiness and well-being, only to receive a cold shoulder, a dismissive glance, or, even worse, outright rejection. That sting is a unique and painful experience, a searing brand on the ego and heart. It's that feeling of being utterly dismissed, as if everything you did, every gesture of affection, every sacrifice made, meant absolutely nothing. As men, we're often bombarded with the toxic message to man up, to suppress our emotions, to shrug off the pain and move on without a second thought. We're told that vulnerability is weakness and that expressing our emotions is unmanly. But deep down, that rejection lingers, a persistent echo in the chambers of our heart. It's an insidious feeling that eats away at our confidence, chipping away at our self-esteem, and leaving us riddled with self-doubt. Was I not good enough? Was there something fundamentally wrong with me? Did I make a critical mistake somewhere along the line that doomed the relationship from the start? These are the questions that swirl around in our minds, tormenting us, pulling us into a vicious cycle of self-recrimination. The world tells us to be strong, to be stoic, to hide our pain, but the pain is real, and it demands to be acknowledged. Ignoring it, burying it deep within, only allows it to fester and grow stronger. It's like a wound that's never properly cleaned, inevitably leading to infection and further suffering. This isn't just about romantic rejection, either. It can manifest in various forms, from the sting of being passed over for a promotion at work to the disappointment of a friend betraying your trust. The core feeling remains the same, a profound sense of being undervalued, unappreciated, and ultimately, unworthy. It's a feeling that can leave you questioning your judgment, your instincts, and your very sense of self. It's a feeling that can make you question everything you thought you knew about relationships and human connection. The initial reaction is often one of shock and disbelief. You replay the events leading up to the rejection, searching for clues, for signs you might have missed. You analyze every conversation, every interaction, desperately trying to understand what went wrong. You become a detective in your own life, piecing together fragments of information, searching for the missing piece that will explain everything. But often, there is no clear explanation, no single defining moment that led to the rejection. Sometimes, it's simply a matter of incompatibility, of different needs and desires, of two people being on different paths. Other times, it's a more complex web of circumstances, involving external pressures, personal insecurities, or unresolved issues from the past. And in the face of this confusing and often painful situation, most men make the same predictable mistake. They chase. They bombard her with messages, desperate pleas for understanding, and promises to change. They make countless calls, hoping to hear her voice, to reason with her, to convince her that she's making a mistake. They try to explain themselves, to justify their actions, to reignite the dying embers of what once was. They become shadows, haunting her periphery, desperately seeking a glimmer of hope, a sign that their efforts might not be in vain. But here's the harsh, often counterintuitive, truth: chasing only makes things worse. It doesn't demonstrate your love or commitment, it screams desperation and insecurity. It gives away your power, placing your worth and happiness entirely in the hands of another person. It reinforces the idea that your value is contingent upon her approval, that you are not worthy of love and attention unless she bestows it upon you. It's a self-defeating cycle that only pushes her further away. The chase, a losing game. Chasing also reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of human psychology. People are naturally drawn to what they perceive as valuable and scarce. The more you chase, the more you devalue yourself in her eyes. You become readily available, predictable, and ultimately, less desirable. It's like a rare and precious artifact that's suddenly mass-produced, its value plummets. Furthermore, chasing prevents you from healing and moving on. It keeps you tethered to the past, fixated on a relationship that is no longer serving you. It prevents you from investing your time and energy into yourself, into your own growth and development. It's like trying to run a marathon with a broken leg, you're only prolonging your suffering and hindering your progress. But what if there was a better way? A way to reclaim your confidence, your dignity, and your sense of self-worth? A way to break free from the cycle of chasing and self-doubt? What if the answer wasn't to pursue her relentlessly but to turn inward and focus on yourself? The answer, perhaps surprisingly, lies in silence. Not silence as an act of revenge, not as a manipulative tactic to punish or control her, but silence as a powerful tool for self-control, personal growth, and inner strength. Silence as a conscious choice to detach from the situation, to prioritize your own well-being, and to reclaim your agency. Because when you stop chasing, when you deliberately remove your presence from her life, something remarkable happens. She begins to notice. She starts to feel your absence, not immediately, but subtly, gradually, like a slow leak in a tire. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the dynamics of the relationship begin to shift. The power balance begins to realign. This isn't about playing games or trying to manipulate her emotions. It's about creating space, both for her and for yourself, to reassess the situation, to gain clarity, and to make informed decisions. It's about demonstrating your self-respect and signaling that you are not willing to settle for less than you deserve. Today, we're going to explore why silence is the ultimate power move for men after rejection and how it can transform both you and the situation. We'll delve into the psychological principles behind this strategy, examine the various stages of its implementation, and provide practical tips for maintaining your resolve throughout the process. This isn't just about getting her back, it's about becoming the best version of yourself, regardless of the outcome. It's about cultivating inner peace, self-confidence, and a sense of unwavering self-worth. It's about building a life that is fulfilling and meaningful, independent of any one person's approval. Are you ready to take back control of your life? Are you ready to embark on a journey of self-discovery and empowerment? Are you ready to unleash the silent revolution within? Let's get started. When you first consciously choose silence, you might be filled with a naive optimism. You might expect her to notice your absence immediately, to be shaken to her core by the sudden withdrawal of your attention. You might imagine that the absence of your texts, your calls, your thoughtful gestures, your very presence will send shockwaves through her world, forcing her to reevaluate her decision. You envision a dramatic scene where she realizes the magnitude of her mistake and comes running back, begging for forgiveness. But here's the brutal truth, at first, she likely won't even flinch. For her, life without you might initially feel like a relief, a chance to finally breathe, a sense of liberation from what she perceived as suffocating attention. She might revel in the space she's convinced herself she desperately needed. It's like finally taking off a pair of shoes that were a size too small, there's an immediate sense of release and comfort. Why does this happen? It's because, in her mind, you've always been there. You've been a constant presence, a reliable fixture in her life. She's grown accustomed to your attention, your unwavering efforts, and your relentless consistency. She's taken your affection for granted, assuming it was a permanent fixture, something she could always count on, regardless of her actions. It's like the sun rising every morning, she expects it to be there, without ever stopping to appreciate its warmth and light. Therefore, your sudden silence doesn't immediately register as a loss. Instead, it feels temporary, like a brief pause in the usual routine. She's confident that you'll eventually come back, that you'll break your silence and resume your pursuit because you always have in the past. To her, this is just a phase, a temporary blip on the radar, not a permanent change in the dynamic. She might even interpret your silence as a childish game, a manipulative tactic to gain her attention. She might roll her eyes and think, he'll be back. He always is. During this initial stage, she might even actively convince herself that letting you go was the right decision. She tells herself that she's finally free now, able to focus on her own life, her own goals, and her own happiness without the distraction of your constant care and attention. She paints you as a burden, a distraction, or even a source of negativity in her life. It's a way of justifying her actions, of protecting herself from the guilt and regret that might eventually surface. She dives headfirst into distractions, seeking validation and amusement elsewhere. She spends more time hanging out with friends, posting carefully curated pictures on social media, and engaging in superficial conversations with new acquaintances. She might even start dating again, hoping to find someone who can fill the void you left behind. It's a desperate attempt to prove to herself, and to the world, that she's doing just fine without you. On the surface, she seems unaffected, even thriving. She's laughing, smiling, and posting pictures of her seemingly perfect life on social media. She appears to be completely unbothered by your absence, as if you never existed. But don't be fooled. This is often just a facade, a carefully constructed mask to hide her true feelings. This is the calm before the storm, the deceptive stillness that precedes the eruption of emotions. For many men, this phase is the hardest. Watching her appear indifferent, even happy, can feel like a slap in the face, a cruel confirmation that you meant nothing to her. It's a painful realization that can trigger feelings of anger, resentment, and deep insecurity. The instinct to reach out, to remind her of your presence, to plead for her attention, can be overwhelming. You want to scream, to yell, to make her see the error of her ways. You want to shake her out of her complacency and force her to acknowledge your worth. The illusion of indifference. But this is exactly where most men fail. They let their emotions take over and break their carefully maintained silence, chasing validation that won't come. They succumb to their insecurities and sabotage their own progress. They fall into the trap of believing that if they just try harder, if they just say the right things, they can win her back. Don't fall into this trap. Your silence isn't about her reaction, it's about reclaiming your power. It's about taking control of your emotions and refusing to be manipulated by her indifference. It's about demonstrating your self-respect and signaling that you are not willing to be treated as an option. Stoicism, the ancient philosophy that emphasizes virtue, reason, and self-control, teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. Right now, her indifference is entirely out of your hands. You cannot force her to feel a certain way, to think a certain way, or to act a certain way. What you can control is how you respond to it. You can choose to react with anger, resentment, and desperation, or you can choose to respond with calm, composure, and self-respect. This is your moment to focus on yourself. Instead of dwelling on her lack of reaction, channel that energy into your own growth and development. Hit the gym, pursue a new skill, reconnect with friends and family, read inspiring books, and engage in activities that remind you of your value outside of her approval. Rediscover your passions, your hobbies, and your interests. Rebuild your life, brick by brick, into something that is meaningful and fulfilling, regardless of her presence. As the days pass, her initial confidence in her decision remains intact, but subtle cracks are beginning to form beneath the surface. She doesn't see it yet, or perhaps she refuses to acknowledge it, but the absence of your presence is starting to settle in, like a dull ache in a muscle she didn't know she had. While she's busy enjoying her supposed freedom, she's unknowingly planting the seeds of regret. Your silence, though seemingly unnoticed at first, is working. It's giving her the space to experience life without you, a life she thought she wanted. And while she may not realize it yet, that space is beginning to feel emptier than she anticipated. The things that once seemed exciting and liberating are starting to lose their luster. The nights out with friends are starting to feel shallow and unfulfilling. The social media validation is starting to feel empty and meaningless. The new connections are starting to feel superficial and unsatisfying. For now, your role is simple: stay silent. Stay disciplined. Stay focused on yourself. Resist the urge to reach out, to check in, or to seek validation. Trust the process and have faith in your ability to overcome this challenge. This stage isn't about her, it's about you. It's about becoming the man you've always wanted to be, the man who doesn't chase, doesn't plead, and doesn't beg. A man who commands respect, not because he demands it, but because he embodies it. A man who is confident in his own worth, regardless of external validation. As long as you hold firm, the balance will start to shift, subtly at first, but with increasing momentum. The initial indifference will begin to fade, replaced by a growing sense of unease. The cracks in her facade will become more visible, and the emptiness in her life will become harder to ignore. Remember this, her initial indifference isn't the end of the story, it's just the beginning. Your silence isn't an absence, it's a powerful statement. And that statement is saying, I know my worth, and I won't settle for less. So, stay strong. The journey has just begun, and the real impact of your silence is still to come. The seeds you're planting now will eventually blossom into a powerful transformation, both for her and for yourself. At first, your silence might seem like a non-event to her. Life continues, and she carries on as though your absence doesn't matter. She goes about her daily routine, engaging in the same activities, spending time with the same people, and projecting the same image of carefree happiness. She might even actively try to ignore your absence, burying herself in work, hobbies, or social engagements. But as time passes, something subtle starts to shift. It's not dramatic or obvious, but it's there, a faint undercurrent of unease that begins to ripple through her world. Those first signs of emptiness start creeping into her life, like tendrils of ivy slowly encroaching upon a once vibrant garden. It begins with the little things, the small daily interactions that she once took for granted. She no longer sees your name pop up on her phone with a good morning text, a simple gesture that used to brighten her day. The thoughtful surprises, the small gifts, the unexpected acts of kindness that she once dismissed as insignificant are now gone, replaced by a void that feels surprisingly profound. The songs that used to remind her of you, the places you used to visit together, the inside jokes you used to share, all become bittersweet reminders of what she has lost. These memories, once a source of comfort and joy, now carry a tinge of sadness and regret. It's like looking at an old photograph, a faded image of a happy time that can never be fully relived. At first, she brushes it off. It's no big deal, she tells herself. I'll hear from him eventually. She convinces herself that your silence is just a temporary phase, that you're probably busy or that you'll eventually come back, like always. She clings to the hope that things will eventually return to normal, that you'll eventually break your silence and resume your pursuit. But deep down, a tiny voice whispers, what if I don't? What if this silence is permanent? What if he's truly moved on? What if I've lost him for good? This is the power of your silence, it's not loud or confrontational, it's quiet and consistent. It's like a shadow in the background that grows larger with time, slowly consuming the light and casting a pall over her world. And as it grows, so does the space you once occupied in her life. What she thought was a temporary pause now feels more permanent, a gaping hole that she can't seem to fill. And it's in this permanence that the first cracks truly begin to form, hairline fractures in the foundation of her carefully constructed facade. She starts to notice the void in her daily routine, the absence of your presence in the small, everyday moments. It's in the moments when she reaches for her phone out of habit, only to realize there's no message from you. It's in the moments when she sees something that reminds her of you and instinctively wants to share it, only to remember that you're no longer there. It's in the moments when she needs a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, or a word of encouragement, only to realize that you're no longer available. It's in the small reminders, like a song on the radio that used to be your song, or a place you used to visit together that now feels tainted with sadness. These moments might seem insignificant, but they're the seeds of something much bigger. They're the constant reminders of what she has lost, the subtle pricks of regret that chip away at her composure. The echo of silence. At this stage, she won't admit it, not to herself and certainly not to anyone else. She'll continue to act like everything's fine, posting pictures on social media, spending time with friends, and distracting herself with activities. She'll try to project an image of happiness and contentment, hoping to convince herself and others that she's doing just fine without you. But behind the smiles and the carefully curated social media posts, there's a growing sense of discomfort. She doesn't fully understand it yet, but she feels it, a quiet emptiness that lingers no matter what she does. It's like a persistent background noise that she can't quite tune out, a nagging feeling that something is missing. For you, this stage is a test of patience. It's tempting to break the silence, especially when you sense she's beginning to feel your absence. You might want to reach out to offer comfort, to reassure her that you still care, or to remind her of the good times you shared. But remember, the impact of your silence lies in its consistency. If you reach out now, you risk undoing all the progress you've made. You'll reinforce the idea that she can always count on you, that she can take you for granted without consequence. You'll give away your power and undermine the message you're trying to send, that you are valuable, that you deserve respect, and that you are not willing to settle for less. This is the moment to stay strong and trust the process. Believe in your worth and have faith in your ability to attract someone who truly appreciates you. Focus on your own growth and development, and let her grapple with the consequences of her choices. Stoicism teaches us to embrace discomfort as a necessary part of growth. Right now, both you and she are feeling the strain of this silence, but in different ways. For her, it's the discomfort of realizing that life without you isn't as fulfilling as she thought. For you, it's the challenge of resisting the urge to seek validation and reassurance. But this discomfort is where transformation happens for both of you. It's forcing her to confront her choices and to reevaluate what she truly wants. It's pushing you to become stronger, more resilient, and more self-reliant. As the days turn into weeks, the signs of emptiness become harder for her to ignore. She might try to fill the void with distractions, such as nights out, shallow conversations, or even other people. But none of it works. The absence of your presence isn't something she can replace with surface-level interactions. It's deeper than that. It's a void that can only be filled by genuine connection, by authentic intimacy, and by a deep understanding of her needs and desires. And the more she tries to avoid it, the stronger it becomes. The emptiness grows, consuming her thoughts and casting a shadow over her world. She starts to realize that what she lost wasn't just someone who cared, it was someone irreplaceable. For you, this is where discipline becomes crucial. Use this time to focus on yourself, your goals, your passions, and your personal growth. Pursue your dreams, learn new skills, and invest in your future. Don't let her absence derail you from your path. This isn't about waiting for her to notice your absence, it's about proving to yourself that you're strong enough to thrive without her recognition. Every day you stay silent is a day you invest in your own future, a day you move closer to becoming the best version of yourself. The first signs of emptiness might seem small, but they're powerful. They're the beginning of her realization that what she lost was something truly special. And as those signs grow louder, so does the impact of your silence. Stay patient, stay focused, and remember that the emptiness she's starting to feel is the foundation of a lesson she didn't know she needed. And for you, it's a reminder that your silence isn't just a reaction, it's a statement of your strength and self-worth. It's a declaration that you are not willing to settle for less than you deserve. As more time passes, the silence you've created starts to evolve into something she can't ignore. What once felt like freedom, a break from your presence, now begins to feel unsettling, like a disquieting hum that vibrates beneath the surface of her everyday life. The small signs of emptiness have grown into a persistent discomfort, nagging at her in quiet moments, a constant reminder of what's missing. And the more she tries to brush it off, the more it creeps into her thoughts, a persistent whisper that she can't quite silence. She might find herself preoccupied with thoughts of you, wondering what you're doing, who you're with, and whether you've moved on. She might even start to compare other people to you, subconsciously measuring them against your qualities and characteristics. At first, it's subtle. She catches herself wondering why you haven't reached out, why you haven't tried to contact her. She tells herself it's no big deal, that you're probably busy or that you'll eventually come back, like always. She clings to the hope that things will eventually return to normal. But deep down, that confidence she had in your return starts to waver. The silence is no longer just a gap in her routine, it's a mirror reflecting the choices she made, and it's starting to make her question herself. Was she too hasty in letting you go? Did she underestimate your value? Did she make a mistake? This discomfort is most noticeable in the quiet moments, the times when she's alone with her thoughts, free from distractions. It's when she's scrolling through her phone and notices your absence in her contact list. It's when she's out with friends and realizes something's missing, a certain spark, a certain connection that she can't quite replicate. These moments of realization don't hit all at once, they build over time, like drops of water slowly filling a glass. And with each passing day, that glass gets closer to overflowing, threatening to spill over into her conscious awareness. She might try to distract herself further, throwing herself into social events, work, or even other connections. She might try to find someone new to fill the void you left behind, hoping to prove to herself that she's capable of moving on. But no matter how busy she keeps herself, the void remains. The distractions only serve as temporary band-aids, unable to cover the deeper wound your silence has left behind. The stability, care, and attention you once provided are gone, and nothing she does seems to fill that gap. It's like trying to patch a hole in a dam with tissue paper. It might hold for a moment, but it's ultimately destined to fail. For someone who was new in your life, this stage is especially impactful. She might have thought she could move on without a second thought, that her decision to distance herself from you was the right one. But now, she's starting to feel the weight of that choice, the consequences of her actions. Each interaction with someone else, each fleeting connection, only highlights what she's missing. She begins to compare others to you, not just consciously, but on a deeper emotional level. And those comparisons rarely end in their favor. She notices the subtle differences, the ways they don't understand her like you did, the ways they miss the small details you always remembered, or the way their conversations lack the depth she once took for granted. The comparison trap. For someone who had been in your life longer, the discomfort runs even deeper. She thought she could take your presence for granted, that no matter how distant she became, you would always be there, waiting for her to return. She might have believed that your love was unconditional, that you would always be willing to forgive her mistakes and accept her back into your life. But now, as the silence stretches on, she starts to realize she was wrong. The life she thought would feel liberating without you now feels heavier, colder, and more isolated. The absence she once dismissed as insignificant has become a weight she can't ignore, a burden that she carries with her everywhere she goes. On your side, this stage is both a test and an opportunity. The discomfort she's feeling is a natural consequence of the boundaries you've set. It's not about punishing her, it's about reclaiming your time, energy, and self-worth. It's about demonstrating to yourself and to her that you are not a doormat, that you are not willing to be taken for granted. And while she's grappling with her unease, you have the chance to focus on what truly matters, your growth, your happiness, and your future. Stoicism reminds us that discomfort is an essential part of transformation. It forces us to confront our vulnerabilities and challenges us to rise above them. Right now, her discomfort is teaching her the value of what she lost, while your discipline is shaping you into a stronger, more confident man. You are learning to control your emotions, to resist temptation, and to prioritize your own well-being. During this stage, it's crucial to resist the urge to break the silence. You might feel tempted to check in, to see how she's doing, or to remind her of your presence. You might want to offer comfort or reassurance, to alleviate her discomfort. But doing so would undermine the progress you've made. It would signal that you're still available, that you're still willing to chase, and that you haven't truly moved on. Your silence is working, not just on her but on you. It's teaching you patience, self-control, and the power of letting go. As the days turn into weeks, her discomfort will grow into something she can't escape. She'll find herself thinking about you more often, wondering what you're doing and whether you've moved on. She'll start to question her decisions and to wonder if she made a mistake. And with each passing day, the realization that she may have lost you for good becomes harder to ignore. The possibility that you've moved on, that you found someone new, will start to haunt her thoughts. For you, this stage is a reminder of how far you've come. The man you were at the beginning of this journey, the one who might have chased, begged, or pleaded, is no longer here. You've transformed into someone who values himself enough to walk away from situations where he isn't respected or appreciated. And that transformation is what makes your silence so powerful. The discomfort she's feeling now is only the beginning, it's the first step toward her understanding what she let go of, and it's a testament to the impact you've had on her life. Stay strong, stay disciplined, and trust the process. Because this discomfort isn't just a reflection of her choices, it's a reflection of your growth. It's a sign that you are becoming the man you were always meant to be, a man of strength, confidence, and unwavering self-worth. As the silence stretches on, the void you left behind becomes increasingly difficult for her to ignore. What started as subtle discomfort has grown into a persistent ache, a longing that she can't quite shake. She realizes she needs to do something about it, to find a way to alleviate the emptiness that consumes her. Her first instinct is to fill the emptiness, to find something to replace what she's lost. But here's where the struggle begins, because what she's searching for isn't something she can easily replace. It's not a material possession, a fleeting pleasure, or a superficial connection. It's something deeper, something more meaningful, something that resonated with her on a fundamental level. She starts with distractions, the usual suspects, nights out with friends, new hobbies, or scrolling endlessly on her phone, seeking fleeting moments of stimulation and amusement. She might try to lose herself in work, throwing herself into her career with renewed vigor, hoping to find fulfillment and purpose in her professional life. She might even seek out new adventures, traveling to exotic locations, trying new activities, and seeking out novel experiences. For a brief moment, these activities might seem to work. They provide a temporary escape from the silence, a way to avoid thinking about what's missing. They offer a superficial sense of excitement and fulfillment, a momentary distraction from the underlying pain. But distractions only go so far. They're like painkillers that mask the symptoms of an illness but don't address the root cause. The void is still there, waiting in the quiet moments when she's alone with her thoughts. It's in the stillness of the night, when the distractions fade away and the silence returns, amplified by her attempts to suppress it. It's in the quiet moments of reflection, when she's forced to confront her true feelings and to acknowledge the emptiness that consumes her. Eventually, she tries to fill the gap with new connections. Maybe she starts dating again, signing up for online dating apps, attending social events, or reconnecting with old flames. She might try to find someone new who can provide the same level of attention, affection, and validation that she once received from you. On the surface, it might seem like she's moving on, like she's putting the past behind her and embracing a new chapter in her life. She might even try to convince herself that she's happier now, that she's better off without you. But underneath, these efforts often fall short. Why? Because what she's looking for isn't just another relationship, it's the depth, stability, and authenticity you brought to her life. It's the genuine connection, the effortless understanding, and the unwavering support that she once took for granted. And no matter how hard she tries, those qualities aren't easily found. The people she meets might seem exciting or interesting at first, offering novel experiences and a fresh perspective. But as time goes on, the comparisons begin, both consciously and subconsciously. She notices the subtle differences, the ways they don't understand her like you did, the ways they miss the small details you always remembered, or the way their conversations lack the depth she once took for granted. She might find that the new people in her life are more interested in themselves than in her, that they're more concerned with their own needs and desires than with her happiness. She might discover that they lack the empathy, the compassion, and the genuine caring that you always demonstrated. These realizations build slowly, creating a growing sense of frustration. She realizes that she's searching for something that can't be replicated, that she's trying to fill a void that can only be filled by you. For someone who was new in your life, this stage can be particularly eye-opening. She might have thought you were replaceable, that another man could step into your role without a second thought. She might have believed that your qualities were common, that she could easily find someone else who possessed the same level of intelligence, humor, and compassion. The illusion of replicability. But now, she's starting to see that what you offered wasn't ordinary, it was rare. It was a unique combination of qualities that she may never find in another person. She begins to understand that you weren't just another option, you were a one-of-a-kind individual who brought something special to her life. And every failed attempt to replicate it only reinforces the value of what she lost. She realizes that she took you for granted, that she didn't appreciate your unique qualities until you were gone. For someone who had been in your life longer, this frustration cuts even deeper. She believed she could explore other options while keeping you as a fallback, someone she could return to when things didn't work out. She might have assumed that your love was unconditional, that you would always be there, waiting for her with open arms. But now, as the silence persists, she's confronted with the reality that you're no longer waiting. She realizes that she pushed you too far, that she tested your limits and ultimately lost you. Those shallow connections she thought could replace you don't offer the loyalty, understanding, or emotional depth you provided. She sees that she traded something real and valuable for something fleeting and superficial. This stage is often marked by internal conflict. She might question whether she made the right choice in letting you go. Was I too quick to move on? Did I underestimate him? Did I make a mistake? These questions linger, growing louder with each failed attempt to fill the void. She might find herself second-guessing her decisions, wondering if she threw away something precious. And while she wrestles with her doubts, you're continuing to grow stronger, more confident, and more self-assured. You're focusing on your own goals, your own passions, and your own personal growth. You're becoming the man you were always meant to be, regardless of her presence or absence. For you, this stage is a crucial turning point. It's easy to fall into the trap of wondering if someone else is doing what you used to do for her, if they're the one she's choosing now. You might find yourself comparing yourself to others, wondering if you measure up. But remember, the value you brought to her life can't be duplicated. It was unique to you, based on your individual qualities and your shared history. Trying to compare yourself to others is a futile exercise that will only undermine your confidence and distract you from your own path. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, and what you can control is your own growth and mindset. Let go of the need to compare yourself to others, instead, focus on becoming the man you've always wanted to be. Embrace your strengths, acknowledge your weaknesses, and strive to improve yourself every day. As her frustration grows, so does her awareness of what she let slip away. She begins to realize that the people she's meeting don't measure up to the standard you set. They don't provide the same sense of security, understanding, or connection. She recognizes that she's searching for something that she may never find again. And with each failed attempt, the void you left behind feels larger, more significant, and more permanent. It's like a black hole, sucking in all the light and energy around it. She starts to understand the true cost of her decision, the profound impact your absence has had on her life. For her, this stage is a humbling experience. It forces her to confront the reality that not all connections are created equal, and that what she had with you wasn't as easily replaceable as she thought. It challenges her to examine her own values and priorities and to consider what she truly wants in a relationship. For you, it's an empowering reminder of your worth. By maintaining your silence and focusing on your growth, you've shown her, and yourself, that you're not just another option. You're someone who commands respect and leaves a lasting impact. You've demonstrated that you are capable of thriving on your own, independent of her validation or approval. As this phase comes to an end, her frustration shifts into something deeper, regret. But for you, it's a victory. You've stayed true to yourself, resisted the urge to chase, and proven that your worth isn't defined by someone else's recognition. You've emerged stronger, more resilient, and more confident than ever before. Keep moving forward, because the best is yet to come. This is just another step on your journey to becoming the best version of yourself. Embrace the challenges, learn from the experiences, and never stop striving to reach your full potential. The dawn of regret. Regret is a slow creeping force, it doesn't strike all at once. It builds over time, fueled by the growing realization of what she let go. By now, she's faced the discomfort of your absence and the frustration of failed attempts to replace you. And now, she's standing face to face with an undeniable truth: she made a mistake. At first, the regret shows up in quiet moments, like a nagging thought that she can't quite shake. She remembers how you always made her feel seen, valued, and supported. She replays those memories, the small acts of kindness, the inside jokes, the way you seemed to understand her in ways others never could. She reflects on the times you went out of your way to make her happy, the sacrifices you made for her, and the unwavering support you provided. She realizes that you were more than just a partner, you were a friend, a confidant, and a source of strength. Each memory is like a thread, weaving together a picture of what she had and what she lost. And the weight of that picture grows heavier with each passing day, pressing down on her heart and filling her with a sense of longing. She might not admit it, not to herself and certainly not to anyone else. She might try to suppress the feelings of regret, to convince herself that she made the right decision. She might even try to blame you for the breakup, finding fault in your actions or personality. But the regret is there, lurking beneath the surface, like a hidden wound that refuses to heal. It's in the way she hesitates before sending a text, wondering if you'd even respond. It's in the way she looks through old photos or scrolls back through messages, searching for traces of the connection she once took for granted. She might find herself revisiting places you used to frequent, hoping to catch a glimpse of you or to relive the memories you shared. She might even start listening to the music you used to listen to, trying to recapture the feeling of being close to you. The echoes of the past. These actions might seem small, but they're driven by a much deeper realization: she let go of something rare, something valuable, and she might never find it again. She understands that she made a mistake, that she underestimated your worth, and that she may have lost you forever. For someone who was new in your life, this stage can be particularly humbling. She might have thought she could move on without a second thought, that letting you go was just another decision in a long list of choices. She might have believed that you were just another option, easily replaced by someone new. But now, she's starting to see that what she lost wasn't ordinary. It wasn't just another fleeting connection, it was something that brought meaning and stability to her life. It was a relationship that had the potential to grow into something truly special. She realizes that she took your presence for granted, that she didn't appreciate the unique qualities you brought to the relationship. She understands that she may have missed out on something extraordinary, something that could have changed her life for the better. And that realization fills her with a deep sense of regret, a longing for what could have been. She starts to wonder if she made the biggest mistake of her life, if she threw away something truly precious. For someone who had been in your life longer, the regret cuts even deeper. She thought she knew you, thought she understood your value. She might have assumed that you would always be there, waiting for her to come back, regardless of her actions. But now, as the silence stretches on, she realizes she underestimated you. She understands that she pushed you too far, that she tested your limits and ultimately lost you. The life she thought would feel complete without you now feels empty, and that emptiness is a constant reminder of the mistake she made. She reflects on the times she hurt you, the times she took you for granted, and the times she failed to appreciate your love. She realizes that she may have squandered her chance at happiness, that she may have lost the one person who truly cared about her. And that realization fills her with a profound sense of regret, a pain that cuts deeper than any physical wound. She starts to question her judgment, her values, and her priorities. She wonders if she'll ever be able to forgive herself for the mistakes she made. On your side, this stage is a testament to your growth. The regret she's feeling isn't something you caused, it's the natural consequence of her own choices. You didn't manipulate her, you didn't play games, and you didn't seek revenge. You simply focused on yourself, on your own well-being, and on your own growth. Stoicism teaches us to let go of what we can't control, and her regret is one of those things. It's not your responsibility to fix it or ease her discomfort. That's her burden to carry, not yours. You can empathize with her pain, but you can't take it away. As the regret deepens, she might feel compelled to reach out. It could start with a casual message, testing the waters, a subtle attempt to gauge your reaction. She might send you a text saying, "How are you?" or "I was just thinking about you." Or it could be a more vulnerable apology, a heartfelt expression of remorse for her actions. She might tell you that she realizes she made a mistake, that she misses you, and that she regrets letting you go. Regardless of how she chooses to express it, the underlying message is the same: she knows what she lost. She understands the value of what she had, and she regrets letting it slip away. But here's the key: her regret isn't the end goal of your silence. It's simply a byproduct, a natural consequence of your unwavering self-respect. The real goal was always about reclaiming your power, your confidence, and your sense of self-worth. It was about becoming the best version of yourself, regardless of her actions or feelings. This is where many men struggle. When she expresses regret, the temptation to rush back is strong. After all, hearing someone acknowledge your value feels validating, a soothing balm for your wounded ego. You might be tempted to forgive her immediately, to give her another chance, to try to rebuild what was lost. But remember, this isn't about her recognition, it's about maintaining the boundaries and strength you've built during this process. It's about honoring your own worth and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. It's about ensuring that you're entering any future relationship from a place of strength, not desperation. If you choose to engage, do so on your terms, not hers. Don't let her manipulate you with her regret. Don't let her guilt you into giving her another chance if you're not truly ready. Take your time, assess the situation carefully, and consider what's best for your own well-being. Approach any interaction with caution and discernment. Be wary of empty promises and superficial apologies. Look for genuine remorse and a willingness to change. Don't let your emotions cloud your judgment. For her, regret is a powerful teacher. It forces her to confront the consequences of her actions and the reality of what she lost. It challenges her to examine her values and priorities and to consider what she truly wants in a relationship. It compels her to grow and learn from her mistakes. For you, it's a reminder of your growth. The man who might have chased, begged, or pleaded for attention is no longer here. You've evolved into someone who understands his worth, someone who doesn't settle for less than he deserves. You've learned to prioritize your own well-being and to walk away from situations that don't serve you. As this stage comes to a close, her regret reaches its peak. She's left wondering if she'll ever find someone like you again, if she's permanently lost the connection she once dismissed. She grapples with the realization that she may have made the biggest mistake of her life. And for you, it's a moment of clarity, a chance to see how far you've come and to recognize the strength you've gained through this journey. You've emerged from the ashes of rejection, transformed into a more resilient, confident, and self-assured individual. Regret may be unavoidable for her, but for you, it's a stepping stone. It's proof that your silence wasn't just powerful, it was transformative. It's evidence that you are capable of overcoming adversity and emerging stronger on the other side. So stand tall, hold firm, and remember, you've already won. This journey wasn't just about her, it was about you. It was about rediscovering your strength, reclaiming your self-worth, and proving to yourself that you don't need anyone's validation to feel whole. Your silence wasn't a punishment or a tactic, it was a declaration of self-respect. It was your way of saying, "I know my value, and I won't settle for less." It was a demonstration that you are not willing to be treated as an option, that you deserve to be appreciated and respected. Through this process, you've shown her, and most importantly yourself, that you're not just an option, you're the standard. You're someone who brings value to a relationship, someone who deserves to be cherished and valued. The absence you created wasn't empty, it was filled with power, growth, and transformation. While she spent this time grappling with discomfort, frustration, and regret, you've been building a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. You've been focusing on your goals, pursuing your passions, and investing in your future. You've learned to control your emotions, to resist temptation, and to prioritize your own well-being. You've developed a sense of unwavering self-worth that is independent of external validation. You've become the man you always wanted to be, regardless of her presence or absence. Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and growth. Everything else, her feelings, her choices, and her regrets, is beyond your influence. And that's okay. By letting go of what you can't control, you've freed yourself from the weight of her approval and discovered the strength within. So where do you go from here? You move forward. Whether she reaches out or remains silent, whether she regrets her choices or not, none of it defines your worth. Her actions and feelings are her responsibility, not yours. The man you become during this process is proof that you're capable of thriving regardless of her actions. You've reclaimed your power, and that's a victory no one can take away. You've learned valuable lessons about yourself, about relationships, and about the importance of self-respect. This is your story now. It's not about chasing someone who didn't see your value, it's about becoming someone who doesn't need to chase. It's about creating a life that is fulfilling and meaningful, independent of any one person's approval. You've grown, you've endured, and you've emerged stronger. You've learned to love yourself, to value your own worth, and to prioritize your own happiness. You've become a better version of yourself, and that's the greatest reward of all. And as you continue on this path, remember, your silence was never just an absence, it was the loudest statement you could make. It was a testament to your strength, your resilience, and your unwavering self-worth. It was a declaration that you are worthy of love, respect, and appreciation. The silent victory. If this journey resonates with you, take a moment to reflect on how far you've come. Acknowledge your growth, celebrate your victories, and embrace the challenges that lie ahead. Remember that you are capable of overcoming any obstacle and achieving your full potential. And as you move forward, continue to practice the principles of self-respect, self-control, and self-love. Continue to invest in your own growth, to pursue your passions, and to live a life that is aligned with your values. Remember that you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness. You don't need anyone's approval to feel whole. You are already complete, just as you are. And if you ever find yourself facing rejection again, remember the power of silence. Remember that it's a tool for reclaiming your power, for protecting your self-worth, and for transforming yourself into the best version of yourself. This isn't just about getting her back, it's about building a life that is fulfilling and meaningful, regardless of the outcome. It's about cultivating inner peace, self-confidence, and a sense of unwavering self-worth. It's about becoming the architect of your own destiny. So, embrace the silent revolution within. Unleash your inner strength, and create a life that is worthy of your potential. You are capable of achieving great things. Believe in yourself, and never give up on your dreams. If this journey resonates with you, take a moment to reflect on how far you've come. Hit the like button, subscribe for more insights, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And in the comments, let me know, what does your silence mean to you? Let's keep building this strength together, one step at a time.